Guitar Boss Radio, coming to you now.
Hey guys, in today's video we're going to talk about how long does it take for a beginner to learn the guitar. Okay, it's something that as guitar teachers we think about a lot, like how long should it take? We get asked a lot by parents, by actual students as well. And it's like, how long is a piece of string? So here's a few ideas that are going to help you understand a bit further, especially if you're new to teaching, to see what the timelines are. So the rough timelines, okay, for me personally, there's no real timelines, okay? So for me, it's really depends on the person. For me, when I was growing up, I did a bit of piano and I did some violin. So because I did that, it just meant that when I came to guitar, I already had some musical knowledge from piano. I already had some finger strength from the violin. So when I played electric guitar, it was actually very easy for me. Well, easy. I probably didn't sound very good, but it felt easy at the time. It wasn't like this really hard, difficult, complicated thing to understand and comprehend because I had the piano and violin lessons. And I can really see that when I have a new student, they're like, I've never played guitar before. Well, I've got a guitar. But if they've done some musical lessons before, they already get a rough idea of what scales are, arpeggios, and the rough kind of setup. They realize they have to practice to actually get better. So as long as they know that and they've got that under their hat, then it makes a huge difference. The other thing is hands and body. Okay, sometimes their hands are just a bit, not as mobile as others. Sometimes they're not as sharp up there for this type of thing if they don't understand what's going on. Sometimes people's hands and fingers are just a little bit of the wrong shape, wrong shape to start with. They don't quite understand how to get up and over and all that kind of stuff. So they need to have the right guitar shape. They need to have the right positioning to actually get started. And they also need what they need at the time. Sometimes for the first class, I teach something very basic to someone and they get it instantly. And then we can just fly through very quickly. But for other people, they're much more focused and slow and they want to churn it all in their head and make sure they fully understand that they're not just bashing through things. So we spend longer on those types of things. And the people who are like that, who are a bit slower because they feel like they have to process everything and really understand it deeply and really commit it to memory, when they practice at home, they're going to be slower. So when they come back the next week, instead of teaching them a whole new thing all over again, you just go over the last thing and, build out from there. So here's some rough timelines. If someone's in between that, they're not too slow, they're not super fast, and they've had a bit of rough musical knowledge previously, 1 to 2 months beginner level, you learn some fundamental chords that will pick up, and you get some strumming patterns going, and you get some basic plucking or picking if you're using a pick, and learn some simple riffs, simple tunes, maybe some happy birthday, stuff like that. Then 3 to 6 months, this is all, if they're practicing, okay? If they practice 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes to an hour, even 20 to 30 minutes each day, the compound interest is so good. It's so fast, especially if they kind of get what they're doing. They start joining dots and trying to be creative. The kids who come in and I teach them 2 chords and they come back the next week and they're like, I made a song. Even if it's, they string something together, that means they're getting the concepts and they're putting it into, the reality. Oh yeah, that's another side thing. If they love music and they listen to lots of music and they like singing and stuff, that musicality, they have like a general idea of what your place is as a guitar player. Okay, you can be in a band, you can be a solo player, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, 3 to 6 months, intermediate level. I wouldn't say intermediate. I think there's many stages. I don't think anyone can be just beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Beginner for me is someone who can't even hold the guitar. That's an absolute rock bottom beginner up till they can start changing chords. And then I would say you're an advanced beginner. I'd say there's beginner, intermediate, advanced in each level, and then there's 50 shades of gray for all of them. But some people are really good at scales, some people are really good at chord changes, depending on what they actually like to do. Some people just want to solo, some people just want to sing along to their favorite song. But let's just say intermediate level, you'll be developing deeper and deeper into the techniques, as well as some basic music theory. You might pick up some more challenging plucking, hammer-ons, sophisticated strum patterns, pull-offs, bends, all that kind of stuff. Additionally, that's a wonderful time to start learning how to read music in tabs. So I would say learning tabs straight off the bat is key, because once you get an understanding of where the strings are going and where the you know, the way the numbers interact with the strings, it makes it a lot easier. Then intermediate advanced, 12 to 18 months. Again, this all is down to how much they practice, how much the teacher is giving them, because there's a fine line between pushing them and giving them lots to do to then 6 months down the line not really understand what they did 6 months ago, even though they were able to play it, have no depth to it. They're not able to apply it in different situations. They're not able to recognize it in the songs very quickly, to going too deep, like spending 6 months on the C major scale. It has to be like a balance between the two. And, you know, revisiting stuff, revising, you know, going over things. Advanced level, 18 to 36 months. Again, advanced level is maybe a bit generous, because after advanced, maybe you could call people masters of their craft, you know, but masters, you would say, have been playing at least 5 to 10 years solidly. And also they've been learning, teaching, studying, practicing, you know, non-stop basically to get to that kind of mastery level, the 10,000 hours. And even once they reach the 10,000 hours plus, they're still practicing, you know, at least 3 hours a day to really keep the level up. Okay. So that's kind of some rough guidelines. Again, it never stops you learning guitar for life. The 10,000 hour rule is something that people aspire to. I read some articles where they said, you got the famous book, the famous study works, where they said if you practice for 10,000 hours, then you're a master at your craft. But I would say, and there's a few studies agreeing with me, that once you hit 10,000 hours, that's the start of your mastery, if that makes sense. There's always going to be elements that you're trying to master and be the best at. But again, 10,000 hours, you know, even if you did 1,000 hours a year, that's still a lot. So, and if you did 30 minutes a day for 36 months, that's 312 hours. So that would, so you'd have to do that for, yeah, so 10 years of 30 minutes a day would get you to 10,000 hours. Okay. So is it feasible to pick things up more quickly? How much time does it take to learn a guitar song? Again, people always ask me, how long does it take to learn a song? You know, am I going to know a whole song in 3 months or whatever? And my answer is yes and no. I could teach you, you know, Back in Black by AC/DC, and I can teach you the extremely simple version with 3 notes, or I could teach you the real version with, you know, the full chords and the riffs, and that would just be the introduction. And then you've got the solo and you've got the whole arrangement as well. So if we had to be technical to learn a whole song in detail, it's going to take a bit of time. And if you're a beginner, you don't have the patience for that, or, you know, the drive to, or you don't have to necessarily have a good reason to learn something in that much detail. So as a beginner, you could learn, I could teach you a song in the first class, a riff, just teach you like a simple 4-note song, you know, just going down. So we could learn a song extremely quickly. You could teach a song extremely quickly if you just take the root notes of a 4-chord song, you know, Stand By Me or something. Let's just take a first example that comes off the top of my head. And you could do 4 notes, and someone would potentially be able to do that extremely slowly in 1 lesson. So, you know, over 3 months, if they learn the chords, then yeah, they'll learn that whole song pretty much. And once they've learned those 4 chords in that one song, then they'll be able to apply that to a million other songs with those 4 chords, or with a capo, another million songs. So yeah, it really depends at what level, how good you want the song to sound. How to learn a song on the guitar easily. So how to learn a song on the guitar easily, I kind of touched on it already. The easiest way is to find the root notes of the riff. Well, either having a riff, which is just single notes, or finding the root notes of the chords that are in the song, and it preferably be a 4-chord song, because then you just have 4 notes, and even more preferably, you'd have some open strings as well. So for example, Nothing Else Matters, if you just do the first 4 bars, the first 2 bars or something, it's just open strings. So you could teach that in the first lesson very easily. It's just the bottom E string and the top 3 up and down. And even that, you know, it wouldn't take very long for a kid or an adult to understand how to do that. So again, it's about watering it right down to its bare bones, you know, not worrying if it's got an F sharp bar chord or a B minor bar chord or something, just improvising around can you do one of the notes of the bar chord, or two, or three? You know, keeping it extremely simple. Can you do some one finger chords to help them out? So that's just a few ideas there. What about studying alone using online education? So studying alone is good. You know, it's good to really have that relationship with yourself where you're constantly seeking new information and trying to implement it. But if you just do that by yourself and online education by yourself, then there's a risk that, number one, you form bad habits. Number two, you think you're doing all right, but you're not. Or number three, you lose motivation. So, and then you give up after a few months. So as a teacher, it's powerful, extremely powerful to stay motivated, keep someone motivated. Yeah, do the online stuff, get your books, do your studying, do an hour a day, whatever it is. But get some feedback at some point. You know, if you don't get any feedback ever, then it's, you know, you'll never really know if you're doing the right thing. If you play in front of people, that's probably the best feedback, depending on the audience. If it's just friends and family, they'll probably cheer and give you lots of praise. Apart from the harsher ones, they will give you good feedback. But if it's a room of people you don't know, like an open mic night, then you'll get instant feedback, depending on how much they've had to drink. Okay, how long should you dedicate to practicing each day? Again, we've kind of touched on this. 30 minutes is a manageable amount, I think, for most people, you know, just to get the guitar out and have a go for 30 minutes. If you struggle with 30 minutes, just do 5 minutes, pick the guitar up. Just in your head, tell yourself you're going to do 1 to 5 minutes. And then if you can't manage that, then you need to really think of a reward system that you've got, or a driving motivator. Some people want to play at their church and because they don't have a worship leader, or some people just want to play a gig at their school performance, or something that someone's always wanted to do, or they want to play for their family. You know, there's whatever your driving force is, that has to be the thing that drives you. You don't want to get 10 years down the line and think, oh, I wish I'd done that. I mean, times I hear people say, I wish I'd learned guitar when I was younger. I wish I did this, I wish I did that. But in reality, if they just started, even today, even if they're 50 years old, by the time they're 70, they would have been playing for 70 years, 20 years. And, you know, so 30 minutes is manageable. I think 1 hour would mean that you progressing in the same way. You know, fingers providing, if you've just started out and you can only manage 20 minutes, that's fine, but just keep pushing it till you can't manage anymore. Okay. Up to 30 minutes to an hour. Which type of guitar is simpler to learn, electric or acoustic? Is there a distinction? So for the fingers, I would say potentially it's slightly easier to play electric because there's less, you know, action between the strings and the fretboard, so it's easier to push down on the electric. That's how I started. I found it quite simple. Then again, nylon strings, classical acoustic, could be softer on the fingers as well. I personally think when you're starting out, if you plug yourself into an amp and you're trying to play electric guitar, it can sound not very good, especially for people in your household or your flatmates or whoever. But acoustic by itself, even if you're playing the worst thing in the world, it can still sound okay to the ears. So the distinction is slightly easier to play electric. I would personally go acoustics. It's marginally more tricky. So then when you go to electric, you can really do some great stuff, in theory, if you know what you're doing to a certain extent. And also with electrics, you can pay a bit more. Even when you pay like £150 for an amp and a guitar, electric guitar, it tends to sound pretty bad. It would be really poor quality. But if you get £50 acoustic guitar, Spanish or classical, the quality is okay, but the sound is actually fine. So finishing up, all in all, how long does it take for a beginner to learn guitar? How long is a piece of string? Depends how much they practice. And yeah, that's all I would say. It depends how much they practice, what their nature is, as in what they're naturally able to do, and also how much music they've been exposed to over the years. If they're a big music lover and they've done instruments before, then obviously they're going to have a step ahead. If they've done no instruments, they paid no attention to music, they weren't very good at maths, there were no musical opportunities at school, then it's going to be tricky if they're like 40, 50 and they're trying to get into it. So as a teacher, I would just say, just take it as it comes. Diagnose, as like a doctor would, diagnose the patient, give them the appropriate medication. Let's keep it very simple. Okay. So I hope that was helpful. I've been Richard Constable, and yeah, I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.